Instagram.
My vet has opened this hospital at Tardiv, and she's at next to Jaslok, Parul, very near your house. They have redone that whole veterinary center, especially where for grooming and all that, plus a lot of other care. And this is a multi-specialty hospital, and at least she was immediately looked into. Drips and shots and this and that, blood tests. Only thing, her amylase is a little high, her WBC count is very high. Otherwise, all her other biochemistries, electrolytes, everything else is normal. So it turned out that she's got Babensia. So Babensiosis. It's a tick fever, sort of a tick fever. And
I didn't get you.
People like us in the lab, we deal with a lot of this called Babensia. It's a sort of a tick fever. And so today I had to take her back for a drip and a shot. And I have to take her back again in 14 days for the third shot. And we'll take it from there. Okay, I think we'll start.
Yeah. I hope she's good now.
Huh?
I hope she's good now.
She's fine. She's gone for a walk. Ask Nikhat, no? She was yelping away, wanting to, and she's come into the room 10 times.
Yeah, they will make all the nakras when they are good.
All right.
All the nakras.
So we're going to start off with glycated hemoglobin, HbA1c, and take a look at it. Okay. So for diabetics, this becomes a very nice lifeline. So again, this question, what is HbA1c, was first described in 55, between 55 and 69, and the significance was explained. Glycated hemoglobin is defined as the hemoglobin that is irreversibly glycated at one or both N-terminal valine of the beta chain. This definition does not exclude hemoglobin that is additionally glycated at other sites on the alpha and beta chains. HbA1c has been the most widely used and accepted test for monitoring the glycemic control in individuals with diabetes. Once a hemoglobin molecule is glycated, it remains in the red blood cells for the rest of the life, that's 120 days. As such, it provides information of the degree of long-term blood glucose control. The formation of glycated hemoglobin depends upon the ambient glucose concentration in which erythrocytes circulate, as well as duration of the exposure. A whole blood sample of glycated hemoglobin is sufficient regardless of the prandial state and clinical setting. So here we have the structure, the glucose molecule and the binding. You've also got the red cell, and you've got places where the glycated hemoglobin is placed. Some say that HbA1c level does not reflect an exact mean blood glucose. Rather, it is weighed proportionally towards recent levels, still a popular term today. So this is a home page. Elevated HbA1c, even without the diagnosis of diabetes, is independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease. HbA1c greater than 6.5 is diagnostic for the diabetic mellitus. HbA1c targets 7% in most treated patients with diabetes. The ideal target of HbA1c is less than 6, as long as it does not result in life-threatening hypoglycemia. The worldwide standardization of HbA1c was necessary given the significant mobility today in the population. The equivalent of the current HbA1c target is 6.5%, is 48 micromoles of the IFCC unit. Average glucose would be used in diabetic patients as eGFR is used in patients with chronic kidney disease. Abbreviations, take a look, TIDM, type 1 diabetes mellitus.
Wait, जरा आवाज.
T2DM, type 2. ADA is American Diabetic Association. When we follow that, DCCT, Diabetes Control and Complications of Trial. UKPDS, United Kingdom Prospective Diabetes Study. OGTT, Oral Glucose Tolerance Test. PCPG, Post-Challenge Plasma Glucose. NGSP, National Glycochem Standardization Program. EASD, European Association for Study of Diabetes. IDF, International Diabetes Federation. IFCC, International Federation of Clinical Chemistry. The comparison is given below. You can take a look at it. Different measuring units. I'm not going to get into that. So you've got NGSP, you've got IFCC, you've got EAG, average, and EAG in millimoles per liter, milligrams and millimoles per liter. The table is given below, and usually in other results we put down what we are measuring. So here you have A1C. You've got the levels in red, yellow, and normal. You've got the FPG, fasting glucose, again in red, yellow, and normal. And you've got the GGT. I think you'll be able to see the values over there. In pre-diabetic, A1C is 5.7 to 6.5. The normal is less than 5.7. In FPG, you got pre-diabetic 5.6 to 7. Normal is less than 5.6. And in GTT, pre-diabetic 7.8 to 11.1. Normal is less than 7.8. Can you read the figures in red, please? I can't, so I'm not getting into that.
No, ma'am, we can't read them.
Even in your PPT, you can't?
No, ma'am.
In PPT, you'll be able to read it. Huh? Okay. In 1969, we got Ruzbeh et al. Described the unusual hemoglobin found in diabetic patients was HbA1c, and it was noted a twofold increase of HbA1c is found in diabetic patients. By mid-1970s, the nature of the chemical reaction was explained. Glycation is a spontaneous non-enzymatic reaction in which glucose binds covalently with hemoglobin at amino terminals of the beta globulin chain. In 1976, HbA1c was described as a useful means for monitoring the glycemic control in diabetic patients. In the early 1980s, HbA1c test was widely accepted in clinical practice. So here you've got the green, the yellow, and the red, and the values of what it should exceed and what should be the normal. So the non-diabetics are in green, as you can see, and you've got the seriously elevated levels are in red. And again, you've got the structure of hemoglobin and the HbA1c, and you've got a little cartoon here that says your blood sugar is high, but your salt, pepper, blah 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 blah, all are fine. There's a little joke. Okay. So non-enzymatic glycation versus enzymatic deglycation. Most proteins, including hemoglobin, react with sugars to form covalent compounds without the involvement of enzymes. This chemical process is termed non-enzymatic glycation. The resulting accumulation of advanced glycation end products is associated with progression of the complication of diabetes, whereas enzymatic deglycation reverses the process of non-enzymatic glycation and generates free amino groups. Enzymatic glycation is a formidable defense system against non-enzymatic glycation and mammalian cells. So there's a difference between non-enzymatic glycation versus enzymatic glycation. So we say most proteins, including hemoglobin is a protein, reacts with sugars to form covalent compounds without the involvement of enzymes. The chemical process is termed as non-enzymatic glycation. The resulting accumulation of advanced glycation end products is associated with the progression of complications of diabetes, whereas enzymatic deglycation reverses the process of non-enzymatic glycation and generates free amino acid groups. Enzymatic deglycation is a formidable defense system against non-enzymatic glycation in mammalian cells. Okay. So you got uptake of AGE proteins by macrophages, partial degradation, you've got the picture, then you've got the circulation, glycation of lipoproteins, etc. You've got AGE peptides are finally eliminated by the kidneys.
Oh,
So this middle picture says very reactive low molecule AGE and AGE peptides are liberated and circulated in plasma. They are much more active than glucose. Okay? We go further. Let me take a sip of water. Right, so this. Now this is another test. Further, this system operates using fructosamine 3 kinase phosphorylating fructosamine residue on glycated proteins and thereby destabilizing the compound, ultimately causing the decomposition of glycated proteins. So fructosamine tests can also be done to monitor a diabetic, and this is good for that is 90 days. I think this is good for 40 days. Shubha, the fructosamine test?
yes, I mean 2 weeks.
Huh?
2 to 3 weeks.
It's good for about 40-45 days, right?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. So that's about 21 days. 21 days.
People like pregnant women.
Right. The process of enzymatic deglycation is overwhelmed by episodes of extreme hyperglycemia in individuals with diabetes as non-enzymatic glycation continues unabated. In the long run, it alters the stability of the protein structure, ultimately leading to cellular dysfunction. So the fructosamine test is also done. What are the AGs? What happened? Somebody's in?
Yes.
One happened. Meena wants to come in. Okay. All right. Meena's in. Thank you for coming. All right.
Sorry for the delay.
That's okay. That's okay. We are about halfway through. So, what are the AGEs and why are they dangerous? These advanced glycation end products, AGEs, directly and indirectly via receptors, promote the development of cardiovascular disease. They accumulate in different parts of the body and interact with receptors for advanced glycation end products, RAGE, induce oxidative stress, increase inflammation, and enhance extracellular matrix deposition, thereby accelerating the process of endothelial dysfunction. All doesn't look good, doesn't it? Consequently, they result in accelerating plaque formation and ultimately arteriosclerosis and diabetes. So these are advanced glycation end products. Go back. And indirectly, Beer receptors promote the development of cardiovascular disease because it promotes the plaques. They accumulate in different parts of the body and interact with receptors for advanced glycation end products. Short form is RAGE. Induce oxidative stress, increase inflammation, and enhance extracellular matrix deposition, thereby accelerating the process of endothelial dysfunction.
Dysfunction.
Consequently, they result in accelerated plaque formation and ultimately in arteriosclerosis. You have the pictures over here. Okay. Okay. So you have a chart here which says coronary heart disease incidences by HbA1c levels in type 2 diabetes, and it shows you how dangerous it could be depending on the age and the complications of chronic heart disease. So clinical use of HbA1c. In 2009, the International Expert Committee recommended the use of HbA1c to diagnose diabetes mellitus in a threshold of over 6.5. However, the diagnostic test should be standardized to diabetic controls and complication trial (DCT) reference assay, or a method certified by the National Glyco Hemoglobin Standardization Program, NGSP. The use of HbA1c as a test went through nearly 3 decades of detailed scrutiny before being accepted as a diagnostic test for diabetes. Researchers have long been searching for a test of glycemia that could be used to screen and diagnose diabetes, as well as monitor the chronic glycemic control, such as a test may be able to predict the onset of complications. So here as a predictor, or here as a confirmatory test that yes, this person is diabetic. I'm reading the last sentence, the last few sentences. The use of HbA1c as a test went through nearly 3 decades of detailed scrutiny before being accepted as a diagnostic test for diabetes. Researchers had long been searching for tests for glycemia that could be used to screen and diagnose diabetes, as well as to monitor the chronic glycemic control. Such a test may also be able to predict the onset of complications. Okay. So here we've got the comparison of IFCC with NGSP, and that's pretty good. Okay. Because if you can go on the x-axis and predict the y, or you can go on y and you can find out what your average glucose is in milligrams percent, or you can go on to AUG on the y and then come down to the IFC levels as to what percentage it could be. Okay. So we ask the question, why glycated hemoglobin? Glycated hemoglobin acquires, just a moment, glycated hemoglobin acquires importance as a test for glycemia because it has less intra-individual variation and is a better predictor of cardiovascular complications compared to fasting plasma glucose (FPG) and oral glucose tolerance (OGTT). So it says it scores over fasting plasma glucose and OGTT. In addition, it is used for glucose monitoring of diabetic patients. In another study, HbA1c and FPG shows continuous relationship with cardiovascular disease. While screening for diabetes is a relatively common condition, it is more important for the test to specifically identify patients than to be so sensitive as to diagnose many false positives, thereby making screening counterproductive, as this approach would put an extra burden on resources especially in less in privileged population of underdeveloped countries. Just a moment, guys, will you hold on? Kitchen में उसको बोलो वो जा सकती है but बाहर we can go. Here we will take time. So you finished everything, go. Now you will be. Madam, see you tomorrow. Sorry, I have a new maid, and I see her sitting in the kitchen. So I've got the screen behind me, and I don't know why she's sitting there. I don't know. What happened?
Yes, I told.
Huh?
She's
So what were they doing?
She was going.
And he might make them sit?
She thought she has to wait.
No.
I have told ma'am to.
Alright, now where were we? Standardization of this one?
Yeah.
Of glycated hemoglobin measurement. Why is it necessary? Glycated hemoglobin has been accepted as the gold standard measurement for the assessment of chronic hyperglycemia or hypercalcemia for nearly 3 decades. To eliminate the confusion and streamline these discrepancies, a consensus statement on the worldwide standardization of hemoglobin A1C measurement was adopted in May 2007 by the American Diabetic Association and all the others. You can see that. It states that the new IFCC reference system is the only valid anchor for implementing the standardization of the measurement of HbA1c. In addition, HbA1c results were to be reported worldwide in IFCC units, millimoles of glycated hemoglobin upon total moles of hemoglobin in compared to the hemoglobin, and derived NGSP units, that's the percentage, using IFCC NGSP master equation. Thus, the 25 to 42 micromoles per mole range would indicate non-diabetic, as similarly derived NGSP units of non-diabetic range would be 2.5 to 4.2% of HbA1c. It was also further resolved that if the ongoing average plasma glucose study was concluded successfully, that is confirmed, the relationship between average blood glucose and HbA1c, then the A1C derived average glucose equivalent would also be reported as an interpretation of the HbA1c results, and you will find that in the reports. Okay, so all the parameters are given. New term to replace HbA1c, there's a question mark. There was a study. The goal of the study was to report glycated hemoglobin results not in the usual A1C percentage format, but as A1C derived average in the same units used in self-monitoring, as for example, milligrams per deciliter. The study concluded that the estimated average glucose EAG can now be calculated from HbA1c using a linear regression equation. This EAG will now be used to monitor glycemia in diabetic patients as estimated glomerular filtration rate (eGFR), which is used to monitor chronic kidney disease from the measurement of serum creatinine. So as we go more and more into research, there are more and more definitions to be studied. Advantage, you can see that's bullseye. With the introduction of the new term estimated average glucose, I think all of us are using it in the reports. The EAG will be reported along with HbA1c results in the interim. We do that, right?
Yes.
Many physicians feel it would be easier to discuss EAG than hemoglobin and diabetes outpatient. Others argue that the term EAG will only serve to confuse patients with diabetes. So hemoglobin, average, and diabetics. Okay. So the Mayo Clinic report is here. The International Expert Committee reports on the role of A1C assay in the diagnosis of diabetes. Diabetes should be diagnosed when A1C is more than 6.5% confirmed with repeat. The repeat not required in symptomatic subjects but with glucose of over 200. Terms pre-diabetes, IFG, IGT will be phased out. Patients with A1C greater than 6 but less than 6.5 considered at risk. And the American Diabetic Association puts out many of these. Whereas the measurement of hemoglobin A1C can identify the presence of diabetes and provides an account and an accurate measurement of the average glucose concentration in the blood. Okay. Yeah, you've got somebody working. This is again the Roche machine, right? And let me tell you, that all this depends on your doctor also, endocrinologist. And I have found that my endocrinologist with me now, not only does she want a sugar after 2 hours, she prefers that I repeat it after 4 hours. And if she finds that at 4 hours it is at normal, he says I wouldn't bother. So he says people over the age of 70 with high 2-hour glucose levels should repeat it after another 2 hours. That means after a total of 4 hours, and then do the comparison. So because I had my PP was high, so she said no, you don't worry, you go ahead, you wait 2 hours and do another screening and come back to me tomorrow. And after I went to her after 4 hours and it was absolutely normal. So it depends on your endocrinologist also. So here you have the Roche HbA1c machine, and they have good machine. I think everybody has their own parameters, and we have handheld instruments which will give you your HbA1c in 15-20 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. You need, of course, EGTA blood. It's HbA1c. Any questions? A lot of short forms and AEGs and NGSP and blah blah blah. Shubha, anything to add?
Yes. See, first of all, I feel that NGSP, National Glycosylated Standardization Program, which we write it as a report for the glycosylated hemoglobin, is in the form of percentage. And the second one is International Federation of Clinical Chemists,
IFCC, yeah.
which we presented as millimoles per moles. Now, when we are using this interplay, we have to be very careful whether we have to give it in NGSP as percentage, whether we have to give it as IFCC millimoles per moles, or whether we have to give it in the form of an estimated average glucose. A small example I will give is that when we are presenting the blood gases, there are two forms. One is when you are putting the blood gases or bicarbonates, or it is in the form of percentage, or in the second form it is in millimoles per moles. So these units are very important, because if you give one unit in the form of powder, it becomes a very big mess. It becomes a very big mess. Like if it is hemoglobin, it is percent, hemoglobin percent. Or if you use the other parameters, carbon dioxide, PCO2, or if you are putting bicarbonate. So you have to be very specific, very focused on the units that you are presenting. Whether you are giving it in the conventional units or whether you are giving it in the standard international units, which are millimoles per moles, etc. Because this is my personal experience that the big people, they get confused, especially when they are at the top level in the business field, when they are business tycoons. If you give wrong units, if you give it millimoles per moles, you have to see the value, because there is a conversion factor. That is one. The conversion factor between the conventional factor to international, standard international units, SI units. That is one. Now, NGSP is in percentage. IFCC is in millimoles per moles. And you have to see whether your doctor wants it in NGSP percentage or whether he wants it in millimoles per moles. You do not mix that up. That is my first information, or that is my first message to them. This is number one. And number two is when you are taking the estimated average glucose. That is also, I think there is a formula that is 28.7 multiplied by NGSP minus 46.7. That will give you the glucose, average estimated glucose. So, glucose, giving that is very important. How much are you running the glucose right now? And another thing is that you have to see that less than 5.4 is pre-diabetic, non-diabetic, not diabetic. 5.4 to 5.7 is pre-diabetic. If you have a family history of diabetes, you may be posted somewhere as 5.6, 5.7. So that is not a normal range at all. You are placed into a pre-diabetic range. Then from 5.7 to 6.4 is tolerable, but you have to be careful. And 7 is a very bad value. Means if you are taking a treatment, you have to be at least 7. More than 7, you are having severe diabetes, which your control for the past 3 months was not proper. I've seen many people, when I was at Rich Candy, I've seen many people, normal, young boys, young guys, who came to us and with sugar of 300, fasting, post-lunch 500, and a glycosylated of 11, 12. So I had called them, I said, what is the problem with you? You are not normal. और नहीं मैडम हमने बहुत हम खाया इसके लिए ऐसा हुआ. That means they had already a family history, but they had mangoes. They went to the ground, mangoes all throughout the 3-4 months. It can put you into this soup. So for the proper treatment, proper estimation, proper measurement of the glycosylated hemoglobin, because if not taken care of, the first line problems will be your kidney problem, proteinuria, and then second is cardiac problems. Then third is diabetic retinopathy. So you have to be very careful in taking care of your glycosylated hemoglobin, which is the test, for finding out your past 3 months control over your sugar levels.
Okay.
That monitoring of NGSP, IFCC is very important. because it puts people into confusion. कि मेरा वैल्यू क्या है, जीएसपी में परसेंट में है कि मिलीमोल्स पर मोल्स में है. When you are stating the report, you have to be very careful.
See, one of the biggest dangers of this is cardiac events. Cardiac
Yes.
events leads to plaques, and it all depends on how young or how old the person is. Shobha, I had this very bad so-called heat stroke 8 days back,
Yes.
and I hadn't done my blood test in the last 2 years. I said, "Kya damn, jo karna hai karo." And I was quite surprised that I had 6.1 HbA1c. My sugar was a little high because I had taken no medication for nearly 24 hours, and I vomited. I had that episode which drained me off. But my CBC, my electrolytes, HbA1c was absolutely okay. Sugar also was alright, wasn't it?
It was high. Fasting.
Fasting sugar was high because I hadn't taken a single tablet for nearly 24 hours, and I vomited.
It was 283.
So electrolytes were down, my blood pressure was down, and I think on the finger it was not that very high.
Yes.
When I was admitted and they had doing, the sisters were doing it on my finger on the machine, it was 100 and something, 100 and something. So I was laughing to myself. I said, at least, huh?
Oximeter.
Everything was normal. Pulse oximeter was fine. No, they did the sugar on my finger stick also. And I was laughing to myself, okay, now I can go to my to Snehala, who is my diabetologist, and tell her and show her the results. Because she's inquired a couple of times where I've disappeared to. And I said to myself, I've reached a stage, to hell with it. I live my life my way. And I eat very frugally. I don't eat like crazy. I have my carbs. I eat a chicken or a fish on the weekend, and I eat a lot of vegetables. I eat certain fruits, and I go to work. Only thing that this stroke did to me was my walking. I feel my walking is not that great, but will come back to normal. But I can retain. My friends were telling me, "Arey, CAT scan, have you done a MRI? For what?" I said, "I haven't fallen down." And they were asking me, "Can you calculate?" I said, I'm working in the lab, I'm doing differentials every day, I can identify every cell. I said, why do I need an MRI? Because you vomited so many hours later. I said, I haven't hit my head. My elbow, if you can still see, and you see it's bruised. That's where I hit the wall and pulled all these muscles up. It was bad. I've never been through that. And the only complication is this otitis media. I've never had a earache, but I think it's one of the worst goddamn things God has given us. I'm living on. All my antibiotics are over. I'm living on paracetamols. I have to take it. And my doctor told me to put a little bit of cold compress over here. So I think once I go off the lecture, I'm going to put a little bit of cold compress. I just feel that when you live your way. You live happily. You keep busy. And I am 77, so I said to myself, to hell with the world. I don't go after people. I don't call people. I live my life my way. I've got my dogs. They are my life, and I've got some very good friends. I've got school friends. I've got college friends. I don't need too many people, and my cousins are all very supportive. I don't need too many people. I used to entertain, Shobha. I used to entertain with 40, 50 people in the house. I cut it down to 15, 20. Then I said I don't even want that. And I think Parul,
Yes, ma'am.
you know what your farewells were like, right?
Sorry?
You remember your farewells from DCA?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, of
We used
course.
to have a good time.
We were good
Uh,
times.
I don't know, Meena, did you all have good farewells?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes.
You know? So I had that sort of a life. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. I just feel that one has to live happy and a productive life. Okay, guys, we will take a break next Thursday
Yes.
and come back to what is the list?
List के अंदर
Yeah, list नहीं तेरे पास.
एक मिनट just check.
Again, it's a bit of a mix, isn't it? Did you
Yes,
can't do
ma'am,
it? Take
can
it
I
away.
ask one question?
Huh?